EDS and BSKYB. We all know the case. We all know what went wrong. We all know who Galloway is. And we all know there was a dog in there somewhere. But do we know why it happened the way it did? Well, here's a quick overview. The contract was for EDS to build a customer relationship management system for BSKYB. It contained the following clauses on which the case eventually turned. 1. A limitation of liability clause for EDS, which was capped at 30 million, except in the event of fraud. And 2. An entire agreement clause, in which both parties acknowledged that no statements made in negotiations prior to signing were to form part of the contract, and that statements and representations would be merged into that contract. It also acknowledged, as has become common, that the clause did not exclude liability for fraudulent misrepresentation. However, things quickly went downhill. Even though there was a renegotiation in 2001, by 2002 BSKYB decided to take back part of the work itself. The project was only completed in March 2006 and at a cost of around £256 million. Unsurprisingly, BSKYB sued EDS. BSKYB raised several issues in their statement of claim, but there were three critical elements. 1. They approached fraudulent representation and deceit on the basis of tort rather than contract law, which Galloway and his team was therefore wholly responsible. So the allegation was that EDS made statements that were not true during the negotiations leading up to the contract, so-called misrepresentations. It claimed for both fraudulent and negligent misrepresentation. 2. Negligent misstatement under the 1976 Misrepresentation Act, a statute. And of course, breach of contract in three ways. A. Failing to provide appropriately skilled and qualified personnel to carry out the project. B. Failing to deliver according to the specification in the contract. And C. Failing to use reasonable skill and care in performing the contract. The YouTube generation would recognise that as an epic fail. Part of this was the BSKYB Council, here it comes, used a dog, Lulu, to attain the same academic qualification Galloway had by paying for it on the internet. Galloway had previously stated that he had attended the university and obtained the grades through study on site. Not true. Total bullshit. Absolute bullshit. As you can imagine, this completely undermined Galloway's credibility in court. Fraudulent misrepresentation was then obvious, and the judge had commented that Galloway clearly had an innate ability to lie. EDS tried to distance themselves from Galloway and fall back on the liability caps in the contract, but this didn't hold up as misrepresentation was proven, and that EDS had set an unrealistic time frame with poor costings and inadequate professional representation. This led to a failure to adhere to the industry standards in their offer. In an ideal world, Galloway would have done the following: not lied, checked accuracy, utilised his team, hired professionals, had regular meetings with legal, and thought beyond the sale. By not doing so, these problems had a detrimental impact on all the associated departments, including the legal team who had built the contract around Galloway's sale pitch. The result was their position was indefensible, and thus EDS were forced to settle out of court for 318 million quid.